Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in today for our Lunch and Learn event, our Secrets of Financial Aid. For those of you on Facebook Live, you will have the opportunity to put any of your questions in the comment section. And for those of you joining us via Zoom, you will be able to ask your questions in the Q&A section. So again, thank you for those of you who have joined us today. Para los padres que hablan español, esta presentación va a estar en español por YouTube. Va a haber un link que ustedes pueden hacer clic. Va a estar ahorita en el programa del chat. So, por favor, si hablan español, hay un link para que miren esta presentación o este taller en español. So again, thank you to all of you who have joined us today. I'm just going to give us a couple minutes. I know people are jumping on, going on to lunch right now. But again, thank you for joining us today on Facebook Live. And for those of you on Zoom, thank you again for joining us. And if you have any questions on Facebook, you will be able to go ahead and ask your questions in the comment section. And for those of you joining us on Zoom, go ahead and you'll ask your questions on the Q&A. So a little bit about myself. My name is Jose Cardenas. I'm a school counselor program specialist. I work for Stockton Unified in the counseling department under student support services. And so I want to tell you a little bit about our workshops. We've been hosting these workshops. This is our second workshop that we've hosted. We held one last month on Financial Aid 101, and we will be holding a workshop every single month just to talk about financial aid and also college access, because we have a lot of questions from our students and from our families on how to receive financial aid and what to do, especially right now during this pandemic. How can we get this type of help or assistance? So just a little bit about ourselves. I want to let you know that our school counselors are working diligently this school year to implement a multi-tiered, multi-domain, multi-systems of support. So we make sure that at all of our sites, we're aligning ourselves with the Ask a National model, making sure that there are school counseling comprehensive programs at all of our sites in Stockton Unified. So you may see some of our counselors delivering lessons on academics, on college and career, on social emotional learning, but we're also helping out students during these times in small groups, individual counseling and planning. We're making sure that we're available to our students, available to our families, available to our staff. We continue to work collaboratively with our community partners, with our administrators who are working so hard, and all of our teachers. So we want to make sure that we're available to all of our students, all of our families during these times. So again, thank you for joining us today. So again, about this workshop today, we're really going to focus on the secrets of financial aid. Again, we appreciate you being here for this Lunch and Learn. This is one of our second series in our workshop. And so we're going to go ahead and move along and go ahead and start. But again, if you are on Facebook Live, you will go ahead and submit your questions on the comment section. If you're on Zoom, please go ahead and submit your questions on the Q&A. We'll do our best to answer all of your questions. And for those of you, para los padres que hablan español, este taller va a estar en español en YouTube. So, por favor, si pueden hacer clic en el link y ustedes pueden mirar este taller en YouTube. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm really excited, as you could tell by my voice right now, to have all of you here today. This is being recorded, and because it is being recorded, you'll be able to watch this at a later time, at a later date, at your own convenience if needed, or maybe I was talking too fast and you wanted to go back and slow me down a little bit. You will have the opportunity to watch this video again. So students, welcome. Families, welcome. Educators, welcome. Let's see about what we can learn today about some secrets about financial aid. So first of all, how do we even get financial aid? The very first thing we have to do is apply to one of these two applications. We either have to apply to the FAFSA or the California Dream Act. And so these are the applications that have to be filled out in order for a student to receive financial aid. And so this has to be filled out every single year by our seniors. You can't do it in 11th grade. You can sure prepare for it in 11th grade or in 10th grade, but you can't apply into your senior year. And so our seniors, we want our 100% of our seniors, our 12th grade students, to apply for financial aid. That is our goal. That's one of our initiatives with our Race to Complete. And we know that we're working really hard to provide workshops, one-on-one opportunities for our students. But the first thing you have to do is apply to one of these two applications. So we want to make sure that our students are applying either to the free application for federal student aid or the California Dream Act, known as CADA. And so how do you know which application to fill out? And I think that's always a question, because you don't fill out both for financial aid, you fill out one or the other. So if a student is a US citizen or a legal permanent resident, an eligible non-citizen, or a T visa holder, you apply for the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. If you are an AB 540 student, SB 68 eligible student who is either undocumented, is a DACA student, has a U visa or a TPS protected status, then you will apply for the California Dream Act. So we put this graph up if you want to go ahead and take a screenshot so you know which application to apply, because remember, you don't apply to both, you apply to one or the other. So either the FAFSA if you're a US citizen, or the California Dream Act if you're a dreamer or an AB 540 student who's undocumented. And so I wanted to talk about the different types of aid. A lot of us really know about need-based aid. We know that through need-based aid, we can get Cal grants, we can get the Chafee grant, we can also get the middle class scholarship, UC grants, state university grants, we can get the California Promise grant, which will pay for our tuition at a community college. We can get EOP or EOPS grants. So need-based aid really comes from the family's ability to pay. So if a family has a need, they will get financial aid based on the family's ability to pay. The other type of need-based aid is it's really determined by the California Dream Act or the free application for federal student aid known as the FAFSA. You have to complete this application as early as possible. This application opened up on October 1st. And so it is now November 20th. We want to make sure that our application is completed as soon as possible, even though the deadline is in March. We want to complete it as soon as possible to get that aid that we so need. Another type of aid is also a non-need-based aid. So non-need-based aid really has to do with aid that is not related to financial need. Often you get this type of aid. It includes loans, Parent Plus loans, and other types of loans. So this is non-need-based aid. So maybe you don't need any type of financial aid because of your income, but most students qualified for need-based aid. And so these are the two different types of aids. And then there's merit-based aid. So with merit-based aid, one of the things that happens with merit-based aid, this is not based off of financial need. Merit-based aid is usually provided to a student after they have been admitted. So they either get merit-based aid based off of their academics, being artistic, athletics, their grades, test scores. And this award is often made in conjunction with the College AIDS Financial Aid Award when they get accepted into the university. So it's quite possible to get merit-based aid as you get accepted into a university. So those are the three different types of aids that students can really get. But all of this aid, again, remember, you have to at least apply for the free application for federal student aid, which is the FAFSA or the California Dream Act. So these are examples of the type of aid that you can receive by either applying for the FAFSA or the California Dream Act. And again, these are examples. So if I apply for the FAFSA, I'm going to be eligible for federal aid, for state aid, and then institution aid. This graphic here talks about Delta College as the institution. And so I may qualify for a Pell Grant, FSEOG grant, and work study. And then I also qualify for direct loans. And again, this is something that we want to avoid as much as possible, and we'll talk about that in more detail later. And then I could receive state grants like the Cal Grant A, B, or C. I could receive a Student Success Completion Grant. I could receive the California Promise Grant, and also Chafee for foster youth. And then if I happen to attend a community college, I can also obtain an AB-19 grant that would pay for all of my tuition if I don't qualify for the California Promise Grant. And if I'm a dreamer, I would apply for the California Dream Act. And so as a dreamer and applying for the California Dream Act, I will make sure I would receive state aid, and I will also receive institutional aid. I may not qualify for federal aid because I'm a dreamer, but I will qualify for state and also university or institution monies. So there is still money available for our dreamers. So what are some steps for our students? We want to make sure that there's three major steps that we want to follow. Number one is maximize that free money, right? We want to make sure we get that free money. There's nothing like that word free. We want to utilize our scholarships, our grants, any awards that don't need to be paid back. That's the number one that we want to focus on. We want to focus on that free money that we don't have to pay back when we finish our schooling. Number two, we want to focus on maybe you've saved some money for school. Maybe you have a 529 plan. Maybe your parents, have saved up some money for you to go off to school. We want to try to use as much out of pocket as we can. Most of our students will qualify for free money, but we know we have families out there that have also saved. And so you want to use some of that money that you've saved in order to cover these costs. And then the third thing is we want to borrow with caution. We know that there is a student loan crisis, right? There's trillions of dollars where students owe back. And so we want to make sure that our students are smart borrowers and they understand that when they pull out a loan, that they understand like what interest they're paying back, when they got to pay it back, and because that can really balloon. So we want to borrow with caution. We might want to maximize our federal student loans and then use private loans as necessary. So again, I bring up this concept of loans. The only reason I bring it up is because I want parents to understand, and I also want our students to understand the differences about loans. I know we don't have a lot of these conversations in school, but we'll talk a little bit more later about money. But as far as the types of loans, there's three different types of federal loans. One is an unsubsidized direct loan, which the student is responsible for the interest while they're in school. The second one is the subsidized direct loan, which the government is paying the interest while the student is attending school. And then there's the parent direct loan. The parent direct plus loan is a loan that's available for parents. The students are not borrowing this money, and it's under the parent's name. So the debt is not shared with the student, it is the parents, and the parents must pass a credit check. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, I would say go ahead and take a screenshot so you know the difference of the loans. If I'm a student and I receive my award letter and I get these different types of loans, the one that I really want to get, if I'm going to utilize it, it's probably that subsidized loan, because that's the one that the government is paying the interest while I'm in school. So it's not accruing interest. So here's a tough topic for all of us, right? We want to make sure that we start having these conversations about money, regarding money. And I know this is one of the hardest conversations to have because it's pretty intimidating. We often don't talk to our students. We often don't talk to our parents about where money is coming from, what it takes to earn money, how it's spent, and then what it really means to be in debt. I know that these conversations are hard to have amongst adults. I know it's hard to have these with our kids, but if you can have these conversations, at the dinner table, at different opportunities, because I've been with students and I'll ask them, what does your mom and dad do? And they're like, I don't know, they work. They don't understand where they work, what their job is, how much they make. I know for myself, the first time I found out how much my parents made, I was shocked how they were raising 4 kids on the limited amount of funds that they had received, every month. And, knowing that my parents were working 2 or 3 jobs, I didn't realize the sacrifices they were making. And so for parents, this is a great conversation to start to have with your kids, because it will start to happen when you apply for financial aid. For parents that have younger kids, really teaching them about saving and teaching them about how money is used. I think it's an important concept. We really want to harp more on financial literacy with our students. And so that is something as school counselors, also as educators, we're trying to educate our families and our students more about financial literacy. So having those tough conversations in regards to money within family is really, really important. So I want to talk about the real cost of a college. I think oftentimes when we have to deal with colleges and universities, we don't talk about the actual cost because there is a difference between the actual cost and the sticker price. And so, but we don't want that to scare families or to scare students. We don't want that to be something that you become afraid of when you get the, the award letter and it tells you the cost of attendance. That usually turns a lot of families away because there's a breakdown. There's the cost of attendance, which includes, tuition, room and board, so living on campus, having food on campus, and then there's other fees that are included with that cost of attendance. And then there's other costs like paying for your ASB funds or paying for, a new pool that's getting built. There's other costs associated to going to college. So there's this sticker price, but within that price, they have other costs listed that may not be covered. For example, the cost of books and supplies. Books are pretty expensive for a lot of us who have gone to school, even digitally right now. Paying for a digital book is pretty expensive. I know books can go from $120 to $150. Supplies, having a laptop available, having pencil and paper, all of that stuff is no longer covered in. So you have to get these supplies to be able to go to school. Also traveling to and from school, just going to our local universities. If you're having to take the bus, if you're having to drive a car, you have expenses of the bus. You have the expenses of paying for gas or insurance or parking permits. If you go to universities now, they charge you for parking permits. And those parking permits can range from $100, all the way to either higher or lower, but there's a cost for parking. And then there's other costs that we don't expect. There's costs, every month for students as far as like the food that they eat, or if they're going to go buy, clothes for school because it gets a little colder. So there's all these other unexpected costs that families don't often pay attention to or think about because, they're living at home. But when our students, are we going to give them money? I know when I was in college, my parents couldn't afford to give me money, but if I would go home, maybe my mom would give me like $20, and that $20 would buy me, a lot of cup of noodles and maybe a pizza here and there. And so we want to make sure that we have those conversations with our students. There's also other unexpected out-of-pocket expenses while attending college. There is usually a deposit for housing or a deposit, for your intent to enroll to a university. So these are costs that are not often within the financial aid aspect. So it's really important to understand what it costs, what the cost will be when attending college. And so by having that understanding of what the cost will be, it's having those conversations with our students. It's understanding that there's other costs associated, but I don't want to scare families away. Just want to have that conversation that there's other costs associated. And so to apply for college, we all really have heard about, filing our FAFSA or California Dream Act, but there's two other applications that people are not really aware of that really need to be filed as well. So we'll go with the first one. We all have heard about, to meet our financial need, we have the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and the California Dream Act, which open up on October 1st and have to be filed by March 2nd. That's in California. And other states, deadlines vary. They may be sooner or they may be later. So if you're thinking about going out of state, know that their deadlines may be a lot sooner. But for California, it is on March 2nd. And then within a FAFSA, you will need what's called an FSA ID. An FSA ID is an electronic signature for your parent and also for the student. For the California Dream Act, you will not need an FSA ID, but you will have another method of signing your form. The other type of application that you may need to file if you're applying for a private university for financial aid. So you have FAFSA that will get you into a pot of money, and then you have what's called the CSS Profile. It's a college scholarship service, and this is usually located on the College Board website. And on the College Board website, you link onto the CSS Profile. And what you do is you apply. And there's usually a fee associated with it, but you can also get a fee waiver if you've received other fee waivers in the past. And so this CSS profile is used at different private universities and colleges. And so there's a list of the colleges and universities that require it. And so what you would do is go ahead and apply, and you're in a pot of money for other types of financial aid within the institution. For a CSS profile, though, there's other forms and other documents that one needs to submit. So for example, there's a non-custodial form that a family may need to submit, and also something called an IDoc form. It's an institutional documentation service form. And so what happens is when you submit your CSS profile, College Board is hired, and College Board verifies the information that you've put on there. And so then they double check, they ask you for other forms to make sure that it cross-references with your FAFSA. And then they try to get you other forms of aid. And then there's another application within some colleges where you file for financial aid within their institution. They do require additional documents, and they also have deadlines. So it's really important to pay attention to those deadlines. Just like the FAFSA has a March 2nd deadline for California, other colleges have other deadlines that you must follow. There is usually not a fee. And again, they require other additional documents. So one of the things that maybe as a student you're hearing, you're saying, wait a second, or parents, they have to apply for 3 financial aid applications. Again, it depends on the institution. So number 1, they definitely should file for the FAFSA or the California Dream Act. If they're going to a private university that requires a CSS profile, then they would apply for the CSS profile to get additional monies. And then within the college itself, they may ask you to also apply for their own financial aid application, which will require additional documents. So potentially, yes, you may have to file for 3. And I know students are thinking, I don't want to file 3 applications. That's just too much trying to file 1. But this puts you into a lot of money. And I know a lot of our students right now are working. And I know that our students have applied to 3, 4, 5, 6 different jobs to try to get a job to earn some income for their family. If you had to apply for 3, this could potentially get you thousands and thousands of dollars to help you pay for school and also help you pay for your food and for housing. So again, if this is an opportunity, there are 3 other applications that one could potentially apply for. So what are some things that you might need, right, to apply for the FAFSA or the California Dream Act? The FAFSA or the California Dream Act can take anywhere between 20, 25 minutes if you have all your documents ready to go. I know I've worked with families and maybe it's taken us an hour. Maybe we've done this over a couple days because we didn't have all the information ready or available. For parents who have younger students, maybe juniors or sophomores, you can start putting together a folder, start putting together a lot of this documentation so you're ready for the next year. For my current seniors, this is information that you may need to bug your parents about. And for parents, when your kids are asking you, Mom, Dad, I need my social security number, you know why. They're applying for financial aid. And so this is a checklist that I provided. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, this is just page 1. So on page 1, students will need a social security number for both the student and the parent. If a student is dependent, if I'm an AB 540 student, then I won't need my social security number. I will not have one. If I'm a DACA student, I will use the California Dream Act. Number 2, you will need your driver's license number. If you don't have one, that's fine, but it is going to ask you for one. So if you do have one, make sure that you have it available. And this is for the student. If a student is not a US citizen, but is an eligible non-citizen, you have to provide your permanent resident card, which is known as your green card. So non-US citizens, again, will apply for if you're a Dreamer AB 540, you will apply for the California Dream Act. And then one of the main documents that you're going to need is your federal tax information. So if you have foreign tax returns, if you have your current taxes, for this year's cycle, so for the 2021-2022 cycle for financial aid, families will need their 2019 taxes. And so it's always the year prior of taxes that one needs. So for this year's senior class, families, you will need the 2019 tax information. And if your student is working or they worked last year, they will need their 2019 tax information as well. And so this is the second checklist. And so there are other documents that it may ask. Now, not everybody may have this, so it may not apply to everyone, But if you have any records of any untaxed income, if you're maybe self-employed and you have self-employment income, maybe you're paying child support or you receive child support, any interest that's been earned, maybe you're a veteran or your parents are veterans, then you would go ahead and get those documents and have that prepared. They will ask you information on your cash, savings, and checking account balances. What I often tell students is when you fill out your financial aid application, if you were to fill it out on November 1st, more than likely your family's probably going to have more income in their bank accounts. So what I tell students and families is always put after bills, right? Because after bills, and I know a lot of us parents, like after bills, like we have very little. And so we want to put what's in our cash savings and checking account balances, after our bills have been paid. Because if you put at the first of the month, it's going to show that we have a lot of money available. Number 7, we want to put any type of investment information. So if you own any stocks or bonds, any real estate, but not the home that you live in. So oftentimes families think, well, I'm going to put the information of the home that I live in. It's any additional properties that maybe you rent out. And then the last thing that they will ask is for any business or farm assets for both students and parents. If you have your own business and you have more than 100 employees, the financial aid application is going to prompt you to fill in more questions. But if you're a business owner, you have less than 100 employees, then you're not going to have to worry about providing that business information. You would end up just putting 0. So if you want to take a screenshot, this would be the time to take a screenshot for this. So you apply, right? You apply on October 1st. After you apply on October 1st, your information is sent from financial aid, which is FAFSA, the California Dream Act. It's sent to the universities. You will receive what's called a student aid report. Within the student aid report, you will get what's called an expected family contribution, the expectation of how much your family should contribute. You will receive an award letter from the financial aid office of the colleges you've applied to or who you've listed. Some colleges may ask for a verification process. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail what that is in a little bit. Then you have to respond to the college with any documents, additional documents. You complete that process. And then the following year, when you're in college, you reapply. So you reapply every year on October 1st. So application opens up October 1st. You want to do your application as soon as possible. You're actually eligible for more aid the earlier you apply. It closes on March 2nd. And then the following year, you reapply on October 1st. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this verification process. So on this verification process, it's really important to understand that don't be afraid if you're being verified. The Department of Education requires that the colleges verify certain applications. So because what they're doing is they're comparing what was stated on maybe the CSS profile, what was stated on the financial aid application. They're cross-referencing. So before they provide any money to the student, they have to verify that the information that was provided is correct. I have seen instances where families have put incorrect information and they were verified and the student was given less money. So it's important to provide the most accurate information possible because it will impact the aid of the student. So if you have to respond with any type of additional documents, do it as soon as possible. Don't wait, don't hesitate, because you could lose out on financial aid by delaying the process because they want to award your child with this money. So if you get verification, don't be alarmed, don't be scared. There's a lot of families that have to do it. So make sure that you provide the documents that they ask you. So you will receive an award letter. When you receive the award letter from the institution, you will receive the award letter for most CSUs and UCs, not until March or April. If you applied for early action or early decision admissions, then more than likely you will get some financial aid notification. But if you did not apply for early action or early decision, you will not get your notices of financial aid until around March or April. And the reason I say that is because you have to let the universities know which college you're going to attend by May 1st. So it's not a lot of time. When you receive these award letters, you compare how much money did you get in grants, how much money did you get in scholarships, how much money did you get in work study, right? All that free money. You want to see how much free money you got and then how much money you got in loans. And you go with the college probably offers the best financial aid package for you and your family. So many people don't realize that you can contact the financial aid office at the University of Attendance. So let's say you get this financial aid award letter and it's not a lot of money. Maybe in 2019, your family made, pretty substantial money, or they made really good money, but things have changed. Things have changed for a lot of us during this pandemic right now. And so because things have changed, there could be a serious illness, someone could have passed away, there could have been a loss or reduction of benefits, or someone could have lost their job. And because these instances have happened and it won't be reported on the 2019 taxes, it's important to contact the financial aid office that you would like to attend to let them know that these circumstances have changed. A lot of families receive their award letter, something has happened, and they never contact the financial aid office. So it's important to be in contact with the financial aid office and let them know that these circumstances have changed, and they can adjust your financial aid award letter. Only the financial aid office can adjust your financial aid award letter. And so I'm going to touch a little bit upon scholarships, another opportunity for free money. So scholarships are opportunities where you can get this free money where you don't have to pay back. And so they're usually outside scholarships. But here's going to be a suggestion that's going to sound really big. Students should apply anywhere between 20 to 50 scholarships to really get a big pool of money. I know that's a big number. I remember I had a student one year apply to about 20 scholarships, and she got almost $20,000 because she applied for all of these little scholarships. They were $500, they were $50, they were $1,000, some were $20,000. So within Stockton Unified, we have a local scholarship application that sits on our college and career website that all of our seniors can apply to. There are also national scholarships. We talked about the CSS profile. If families fill out the CSS profile for private universities, you can receive other types of college scholarships. There's also online through fastweb.com, ScholarMe, Going Merry, College Board. College Board has an opportunity scholarship that if you just work on your Khan Academy, you practice your SAT, you can get about $1,000. And then within Stockton, if you're a Stockton student, you can apply for Stockton Scholars, which is up to $4,000 for 4 years, so $1,000 a year. If you go to community college, that's $500 a year for 2 years, so $1,000 extra dollars. In Stockton, also, there's a community involvement program. If you decide to go to UOP, UOP offers 90% tuition reduction just by doing community service. So there's opportunities that are local just for our students, but then there's also national opportunities. The number one thing that I want to share with families is please don't ever pay anyone to do your scholarships. Scholarships are free. Scholarships are available to the public for free. So if you're a dreamer, there are scholarships for dreamers. If you're a student who's into sports, there's scholarships for people who are playing sports. So please, all that information is free. Never pay anyone, never attend a workshop where someone charges you money to get you scholarships. That's usually a scam. So families, students, this information is free. There are scholarships out there. And I know I said that was a big number, between 20 and 50 scholarships, that's huge. If you just do one scholarship, within that one scholarship, you might be able to reuse that essay for another scholarship. A lot of these scholarships, they either require an essay, they might just require your grades, they might just require that you do community service. They vary, but scholarships, again, remember, it's free money. And so what if I need help? What if, we're going to go on break next week and I need some assistance. And because I need some assistance, what can I do as far as where do I get this extra assistance? And so if you're a California DREAM Act student, you can actually get live chat resources. You can go to the California DREAM Act CSAC website, and I have it linked on this presentation, and we'll put it on here. You can click on the chat and you can ask questions. There's this new feature now where it's called getfafsahelp.org. It's a chat bot. It's called Wyatt. And you can go to getfafsahelp.org. You can put in your phone number and you will start being able to text message your questions. And it's such a neat app right now. I know I've used it myself. I've used it for students. Students, if you're afraid to ask questions, this is an opportunity, but also there's help through your school counselors. Your school counselors they're holding workshops. nightly workshops, they hold daily workshops, they'll do one-on-one appointments. I know Delta College is hosting Cash for College workshops. So we're hosting a lot of events to help families, to help students. So there's your school counselors who are available to help. And so if you want to take a screenshot of this, go ahead and take a screenshot of this help that you can get. And then we'll go ahead and link also these websites on our chat box so you can have access to it. And so with that said, I just want to say thank you to all of you for attending today. Those of you who are on Zoom, those of you who are on either on Facebook Live, thank you for attending today. I can't say this enough. We want our students to apply early. We want our students to apply as early as possible to maximize their financial aid opportunities. Often students wait until March 1st and they don't maximize all their financial aid. So you're either going to apply for either the FAFSA or the California Dream Act. We have more information available on our college and career website on different scholarship opportunities. So we are available online. If you please ask your school counselors for any assistance to file financial aid. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for a Q&A. And I just want to say thank you for all of you for being here today. So our first question is, what do we need to get a scholarship? That's a great question. So one of the things that you need to get a scholarship, it just depends on the scholarship. So for example, if you're a student who is applying for financial aid, or for a scholarship for Stockton scholars, the only thing that you need is to be a Stockton Unified student, to have a 2.0, apply for your FAFSA, and apply for Stockton scholars. That's it. Other scholarships might require you to do an essay. They all have their different eligibility. So each scholarship has their unique eligibility. If you're interested in a scholarship, I would check them out, and they all have the eligibility requirements and what they need. So every scholarship varies, but I would definitely check on that scholarship. Next question, would it be better not to claim my child as a dependent on my taxes to get financial aid? That's a great question, Ms. Nelson. So I appreciate your question and you being here today. So all students are considered dependent, even though your child may be 18 years of age. So I know parents, this is a hard one. They're 18, you want to get them out the door. The reality is if your child is 18, they are still a dependent for financial aid unless they answer some of the criteria questions. So within the financial aid application, it asks a series of questions to determine if a student is independent. The only time students are independent is if they're military service, if they're married, if they have a child and they're providing more of their support to people. So there is a list of questions if you're a veteran, if you're foster or homeless youth. So there's a list of questions that determines if you're independent or dependent student. Most of our students are dependent students until the age of 26. So unfortunately, you may still have to claim, but you're going to have to answer those questions within the application. Great question. And so keep those questions coming. I'm going to go ahead and answer some other questions. So some of the questions that we're also fielding as far as financial aid is, what if I'm applying to more than one school? Can I list more than one school in my financial application? Yes, you can list up to 10 schools. We often tell students to definitely put, California school first, so you can have your Cal Grant, and then, put the schools that are probably a little bit more expensive at the top of the list. And then make sure you have your safety school. So you can list up to 10 schools. Once you submit your financial aid application, you can always go back and submit more schools on your financial aid applications. And so make sure that you also put other schools that you may have. So yes, you can list up to 10 schools, but you can always go back and list more. I've seen students list up to 20 to 30 schools, but you can always go back and list more. Another question that I received was, when do I start hearing back from colleges and universities? And I know we talked about that a little bit before. Students, I know there's this waiting game after you apply, after you've done your financial aid, you're kind of in limbo. For some of you who might have applied early action, early decision, you're gonna hear much earlier. But for most students to apply at CSUs and UCs, you will hear from them, your colleges in March and April. And I know that's pretty close to the deadline of May 1st, but you're typically going to hear from those colleges and universities in March or April. Let me see, another question that I received, I got here is, by when do I need to tell the colleges that I will be attending that school? Again, we have to let colleges and universities know that we're attending to that school by May 1st. So by May 1st, you have to let them know that you will be enrolling at the school. It's called a student intent to roll. Maybe for a lot of athletes, you've heard college signing day. That would be the college signing day would be May 1st. So another question I received is, to receive the free tuition from community colleges, does it have to be the college where you currently live, or can you go to any community college? So community colleges, they themselves have used monies and ways to get the free California Promise. I know at our local college, community college, Delta College, they provide the California Promise for our students to waive tuition. Other colleges, community colleges, also use the same California Promise to waive tuition. So a student could potentially go to another community college and have that tuition also waived through the California Promise at other community colleges. So thank you for that question. Another question I received is, can I apply for scholarships when I'm in college? So yes, so applying for scholarships, it's not only when you're a high school senior. You can apply for scholarships as early as 7th and 8th grade. There are some scholarships particular for seniors, but there are also scholarships for students who are in college. There are scholarships for students who are in graduate school. So maybe I'm going to go get my master's. There are scholarships for students who are going to go get their doctorate. An example of that is a McNair Scholars Program that will pay for your doctoral education, especially if you go into the STEM fields. So you can get scholarships all the way through your graduate school. A question I got is, how can I increase chances to win scholarships? Scholarships, again, there's a lot of them out there. There's billions of dollars that go to waste every year because people don't apply. The best way to make yourself marketable for a scholarship is to really look at your local scholarships, the ones that are inside of our city, the ones that people here in our community have, because those scholarships, you're only competing against the people here in our city. When you compete against national scholarships, you're competing against people from around the nation and even from around the world who are trying to get some of these national scholarships. So your best bet is definitely to apply to our local scholarships, your local churches, your local temples, asking community members, even your parents where they work. It's important that they ask, maybe they work at a certain company, to ask, hey, do you guys have a scholarship for students? So even within parents, employers as well. And some scholarships, to make yourself really eligible, you want to make sure you apply to as many scholarships as possible. Once you apply to, a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're going to be able to reuse a lot of that information on the other scholarships, and it becomes a lot easier. For you younger students, or parents with younger students, scholarships come out every single year. So if you look at a scholarship that maybe is for a senior this year, you can go ahead and start doing the application in preparation. So when your child is a senior, so you know what information to ask, maybe to ask for an essay, maybe to ask for community service, you can start seeing what information to ask to prepare. So question that I got is, what are the best sites to get assistance for financial aid? So the best sites right now are studentaid.gov. So studentaid.gov helps our dreamers, helps with the California Dream Act. And a really good resource is what we talked about earlier, is the chatbot with College Board, but also the financial aid. So the Student Aid Commission for FAFSA is also a great website. So make sure the studentaid.gov for the FAFSA. The California Dream Act it's the csac.gov. My apologies, the CSAC website for dreamers. Another question I got is, how can I get help for FAFSA? How can I get help for financial aid? So you can get assistance for financial aid from your school counselors. Your school counselors are doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but we also know that a lot of our teachers are helping, but your school counselors are there to help you fill out your financial aid applications. They're available, even on distance learning, they're available. And so let's see. Another thing that we have here, let me see another question that I've received. Should I check yes or no on work study? And so for work study, it's really important that to maximize the amount of money, you want to make sure that you are checking yes on work study. Now, you may not have to use it, but it's available to you. As soon as you check no, then you don't have access to that work study money. So check yes on that box for your for financial aid for work study. It's available to you. It's an on-campus job. It's an opportunity for you to go ahead and work and get experience and get paid while going to college. Even right now during distance learning, there are students who are doing work study jobs from home. They're helping out at the financial aid office. They're helping out at the admissions office. They're still working and they're still getting their money. Let's see, another available, let's see. What about community college financial aid? How can I get financial aid for community college? So to get financial aid for community college, you can qualify for a Cal grant for community college, but you still have to apply for either the FAFSA or the California Dream Act to qualify for that aid. To qualify for any type of aid, you have to make sure that you apply for the financial aid applications. So community colleges do offer tuition waivers like the California Promise. They also offer book programs like book vouchers. So if you applied, you can get vouchers so you don't have to pay for your books. So they do offer other types of financial aid for students. And then the other one that we have here too as well is, can I fill out my financial aid applications before October 1st of my senior year? The answer to that is no. So if there's any juniors watching or any students of junior parents, you cannot fill out your financial aid application before October 1st. You can do a worksheet. You can start to practice and get everything, all the information ready. But on October 1st of your senior year is when you apply for the very first time for financial aid. And for those of you that are in college or you have students in college, please remind them to do their financial aid applications, renew them every single year on October 1st. Another question I got here is, how long after I submit the FAFSA or California Dream Act do I get a response? You will get a response generally. You will hear around March or April. So you would get a response in a fashion of a award letter in March or April. Does financial aid require bank information? That's a great question. Yes, financial aid does require bank information. So if you recall on my checklist that financial aid will require students' bank information. If a student doesn't have a bank account, then it doesn't pertain to them, but I will ask for parents' information on bank accounts, on savings and checkings accounts. So are any other questions coming? Great questions. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your questions. Really appreciate your questions today. Thank you for being with us on this Lunch and Learn. We know that this is a great opportunity to engage. We will be having another workshop in December. We've had a lot of questions in regard to scholarships. So we want to make sure we have a workshop coming up regarding scholarships. We want to make sure that we get our students to complete their financial aid applications. At all of our high schools, they're doing some very innovative stuff. There's a lot of incentives to apply for financial aid. As a district, we've already put in your information for your Cal grant. We put in your GPA. All we need is for our students to put in their financial aid applications. Our schools are working really hard. Thank you to all of our parents for being here. Thank you to all of our administrators and teachers who are supporting us. Thank you for tuning in today. And I'm looking at the questions, and that's all the questions I have. And so if there's no other questions, I would love to open it up for any comments or any other questions. But again, thank you for being here today.